So this is the third part of Chief Seattle's speech. Do ensure you have seen the first part and the second part before coming to this video. It matters little where we pass the remnant of our days. They will not be many. Remnant here refers to remaining. Chief Seattle says that it doesn't matter, or it matters really little for him and for the Red Indians, or for anyone, that where the Red Indians are passing their remaining days. The Red Indians' night promises to be dark. Red Indians here refers to the Red Indians. Not a single star of hope hovers above the horizon. The Red Indians are now hopeless. Sad-voiced winds moan in the distance. Now, grim fate seems to be on the red man's trail, and wherever he will hear the approaching footsteps of his fell destroyer and prepare stolidly to meet his doom, as does the wounded doe that hears the approaching footsteps of the hunter. Grim here refers to dark. Trail here refers to path. Fell destroyer here refers to the whites. Stolidly means without courage, without enthusiasm. So when a doe is wounded and it knows that a hunter is coming to hunt it, it can do nothing but just wait to meet his destruction. Here Chief Seattle compares. He compares the Red Indians to that wounded doe. He says that whenever or wherever the Red Indians are going to hear the approaching footsteps of his fell destroyer, that is the whites, they will stolidly prepare themselves to meet their doom. Doom here refers to destruction. A few more moons, a few more winters, and not one of the descendant of the mighty hosts that once moved over this broad land or lived in happy homes, protected by the great spirits, will remain to mourn over the graves of a people once more powerful and hopeful than yours. Mighty hosts here refers to Red Indians. Chief Seattle says that only a few more moons and a few more winters are left for us to survive, and after that, not a single descendant, not a single person of the mighty host, not a single person of the Red Indian community is going to be left there to mourn over the graves of their ancestors. But why should I mourn at the untimely fate of my people? Tribe follows a tribe and nation follows nation, like the waves of a sea. Now here Chief Seattle says that why should he be upset on the untimely decay of Red Indians? Tribe follows a tribe and a nation follows a nation, as the waves of a sea follow each other. It is the order of nature, and regret is useless. Your time of decay may be distant, but it will surely come. For even the white man whose God walked and talked with him as friend to friend cannot be exempt from the common destiny. We may be brothers after all, we will see. Now here Chief Seattle says that a nation follows a nation and a tribe follows a tribe. It is the rule of nature that who has come here will go one day, and we can't regret that. We can't regret the end of something. We can't regret dying. Now here Chief Seattle says that even the white people cannot be exempted from the common destiny. Common destiny here refers to death, to end. Chief Seattle says that even the whites whose God talked to them as a friend cannot be exempted from the common destiny. It is the rule of the nature. And at the end he says that we may be brothers after all, and they will see. We will ponder your proposition, and when we decide, we will let you know. But should we accept it, I here and now make this condition, that we will not be denied the privilege without molestation of visiting at any time the tombs of our ancestors, friends, and children. Here Chief Seattle says that he, along with his Red Indian tribe, will think about the proposition. Proposition means the treaty in which Franklin Pierce mentions that he wants to buy their land. He will think about it, and when they will decide, they are going to tell the whites. Also, here Chief Seattle puts a condition. He says that if we accept the treaty, I here make one condition that my people, the Red Indians, would not be denied the privilege without molestation to visit the graves of their families, friends, ancestors, or their children. Every part of the soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed by some sad or happy events in the days long vanished. Even the rocks, which seem to be dumb and dead as they swelter in the sun along the silent shores, thrill with memories of stirring events connected with the life of my people, and the very dust upon which you now stand responds more lovingly to their footsteps than yours, because it is rich with the blood of our ancestors, and our bare feet are conscious of the sympathetic touch. Now, here Chief Seattle says that every part of the soil is sacred. On this land, every part of the soil is sacred. Every hillside, every valley, every seashore has some memories that are connected with the life of the Red Indians. Even the rocks जो वहाँ पे swelter कर रहे होते हैं, they seem to be dead, they seem to be dumb, they just get thrilled with the events which are sad or happy events which are connected with the life of Red Indians. If every part of the very soil responds more lovingly to the footsteps, to the bare footsteps of Red Indians than to the footsteps of white. And this is because the soil is rich with the blood of the ancestors of the Red Indians, and also the bare feet of Red Indians are conscious of the sympathetic touch. Our departed braves, fond mothers, glad happy-hearted maidens, and even the little children who lived here and rejoiced here for a brief season will love these somber solitudes, and at eventide they greet shadowy returning spirits. Somber solitude here refers to dark, lovely places. Here Chief Seattle says that the braves, the departed braves, the people who were the dead people who were brave, the fond mothers, the happy-hearted women, and even the small children who played here, who spent a peaceful time here, just for a brief season, for a small season, will never forget this world, will never forget this loving place. And at eventide they may return. And when the last red man shall have perished, and the memory of my tribe shall have become a myth among the white men, these shores will swarm with the invisible dead of my tribe. And when your children's children think themselves alone in the field, the stores, the shop, upon the highway, or in the silence of the pathless wood, they will not be alone. In all the earth there is no place dedicated to solitude. Now here Chief Seattle says that when the last man of the Red Indian community will die, and when the Red Indian community will just become a myth, a vehem among the whites, then also the shores will swarm with the invisible dead of the whites, means of the Red Indians, means the spirits of the Red Indians will still be there. And when your children's children, means their grandchildren's children, will think that they are alone in silence, in the silence of pathless woods, or in shops, or in highways, wherever, they will not be alone, because all the time the spirits of Red Indians will be present on that on that ground. And he also says that in the earth there is no place which is dedicated to solitude, there is no place which is deserted and peaceful. At night, when the streets of your cities and villages are silent, and you think them deserted, they will throng with the returning hosts that once filled them and still love this beautiful land. The white man will never be alone. So in the last lines of this paragraph, Chief Seattle says that जब तुम्हारी villages, तुम्हारी cities एकदम शांत रहेंगी and you'll think that they are deserted, no one is there, that time also those streets will throng with the returning hosts. Returning host means the spirits of the red Indians. They throng here refers to full of. Those streets will still be full of the spirits of red Indians who loved this land. And in the last line, he says that whites will never be left alone. Always the spirits of red Indians are gonna be there. Let him be just and deal kindly with my people, for the dead are not powerless. Dead, did I say? There is no death, only a change of world. So here Chief Seattle says, in a way he gives warning to the whites that deal with my people kindly, don't deny them any privilege, because dead are not powerless. And the last line he says is there is no death, only the change of world. So here Chief Seattle is compromising because he knows that now the red Indian community is moving towards their doom, towards their end. They don't have youth to fight back to the whites or to the Hylas or to the Simpsons. Also, they are really hopeless about their future. So Chief Seattle here compromises and he is kind of optimistic. He knows what is going to be. He has a little bit idea about the future, so he decides to compromise. This chapter ends here.